Round 17 list, everyone. Here we are with some massive news. I hope you stay right to the end in this one. There's a couple of really interesting selections that could be good, could be bad, depending on how you played the last few rounds. And one of the selections that I said had the potential for this to happen, but probably a lower percent chance, actually came through. So unfortunately, that has happened, and we'll go through that here. His face is not in these four people on the screen. So anyway, we'll go through the Sharks and the Eagles, and there are Monday games this time, so I'll make sure I get to them. But in terms of the Sharks side of things, we see CC Vitalikai in there again in the starting role. There's no Connor Tracy in sight. We do see Ikavalu in the reserves in 20, but I don't see him coming in to replace CC. So he comes in at a really strange price now, and if you're looking to pick him up, I can understand why. He's going to get the centre duel with the edge position there, and he's going to continue to score well. He comes up against a good Manly side, and I think he will be able to score pretty well against everyone at the moment. He's just in red hot form, and as I said, spoke about him a couple of years ago playing terrific footy, and he's doing that again. So I think he can continue to score well on that left edge with Ronaldo Mulatalo for the Sharks. So he's a very interesting one there. Nico Hines still doing his thing. If you got Tig Walton, I think you just got to continue holding him for the next few weeks. I think he's gonna still score well for you. Even though he's up against Olakau'atu this week, it's gonna be a really, really tough battle for him. I think he's worth the hold, and you can play the trade in or out. The trade out or the hold with him over the next few weeks and work that out. But Cam McInnes becomes a interesting option this week. He still has a break even of 50 there, and we'll speak about him a little bit deeper in the next few videos. But break even of 50, we can see how this plays out this week. Obviously, Finucane's out, so McInnes gets the 13 role. They lose Hamlin-Uele, and Tolman comes into the starting side, and Royce Hunt comes into the 16 role in the interchange there. So with Cam, I think the biggest thing that you can do this week with him is wait, see how many minutes they give him in that 13 role, and if he's going to get that 13 opportunity going forward when Finucane comes back after this week, and make that decision. But if you made that choice now, you get him under 700k, so 700k being that 50-point average, and if you think McInnes can get around that 50 points or more going forward in a bigger minute, 60, 70 minute role, then that could be a decent option for you. But if not, and you're not sure, I think you can wait this week for sure and think about him next week. On the Manly side of the ball is where the big information comes in, and that's that Talatau Kula there hasn't made the back five. So Tuipulotu continues playing on the wing here, and Kula is in the 19 jersey. So really, really frustrating for anyone who brought him in. I brought him in the head squad this week, and him being at that 220 along with David Moale. With Kula playing, it actually was a better choice last week, but unfortunately this week he hasn't been named to play in that back five. So really, really annoying for anyone who decides to go that route. And I hope that you have some cover in the wing fullbacks. And Taylor May will get the dual position, thankfully, and you'll be able to play him there if you own him. And if you don't, then I think you need to be trading in a wing fullback this week. So very annoying for those that own him. DCE is continuing to be a great option. Davey's going to start to slow down his money making at this point, but definitely someone to hold for the near future. Olakau'atu is going to have the up and down games, but you can see he's really improving as a player, and his consistency will come more and more across the season there. If we move to the Broncos side of the ball, we have Tamari Martin who comes in. He's not in fantasy yet. He will be coming in shortly. I just think with him, he's not someone that's played a fair bit of fullback. He was half when he played for the Cowboys, for example, and hasn't played in the NRL in a good few years. So he's someone that we're going to deep dive into a little bit further during the week, but just someone to keep in mind that he'll probably come in really cheap, and a lot of people will be interested in him. But I just think that yes, they're coming up against the Dogs, but I think it could be a fairly close matchup, and we're not exactly sure how electric he's going to look and how good he's going to be in that fullback role in a team that's not established as a gun squad at this point. So we've got Blake Taaffe, for example, in the Bunnies, that he comes into a better side than what the Broncos are at this point, has the goal kicking, so there's a few more added benefits to him, even at the more expensive price. So we have a good opportunity for him to make some consistent cash and get some consistent scores, whereas Tamari Martin, we're not exactly sure. He'd be having a bit of a Tyson gamble if you popped him into your squad. Hope you like that. So Gamble moves into 6 and Walters goes into 14 role. So if he was starting at 9, Walters, I think you could hold him, but at this point on the bench, he's probably going to get that 25 minutes that he was getting with Turpin, maybe an extra couple of minutes, but not someone that you want to be keeping in your squad going forward. Payne Haas is back, so he's a great captaincy option again, like he has been. If you got Cleary, I'd still be sticking with him. or you can go back to Haas if you went for the Hines or the Harry Grant or these types of players that Haas has been the top scorer all year, so he's a great option. Gamble I wouldn't be touching at this point. You've got Reynolds who's going to do the majority of the kicking as per normal. Tony Staggs is someone that a lot of you could think about. He comes up against the Dogs and he's going to be playing against Averillo, I believe. Would they be on the left? Not sure. Is Averillo playing on the left? Let me know in the comments. And they got Shup as well. I think, he usually plays on the right. So Katoni is definitely a good option. Is he going to be playing Origin? Probably not. So you should have him for that next period and through the Origin section as well. And he could continue to score well for you. It's good to see him back. So if anyone's looking for a centre, which I know a lot of us aren't, but if you are, then he could be an option for sure. Kobe Hetherington's a hold, I think. Hoping for him to score more than 35 would be ideal. At least 35, please. On the dog side of the ball, we got Burton, and we spoke about him a little bit. Is he a trade out? Is he a hold? A lot of people are, to reference the Talking League podcast there, they're all mentioning that they all don't own him, and they're looking at him and going, I'm probably going to pick him up over the next few weeks. He's only lost like 6K overall, so it's not like he's performed overall terribly. So when does people that are good at the game thinking about potentially picking him up over the next few weeks? With their decent run and heading through into Origin, playing round 13 and stuff like that, then coming into round 7, it's like, do you move him on now, or you just hope that he comes back and plays a much better game? He's coming up against the Broncos. This could be a closer game for him, and he could come out and score really well. And if he gets a 60 this week, you'll be kicking yourself that you moved him on. If you're looking at the forwards in the Bulldogs there, we've got Tavita Pangai, who had a bit of a poor game last week, continuing that form of up game, average game, low game. Real up game, average game, low game, and that could continue to happen. This might be his week to go nuts. We're not exactly sure. Josh Jackson is coming off back-to-back 50s and could be a decent option for your side this week for sure. He has lost a fair bit of cash, and to see 2 consistent scores is really, really good. I wouldn't say you have to pick him up this week, but again, they're a team that plays round 13. So if you're looking forward into that section of the draw, then he's someone that we'll be looking to pick up potentially, who's a dual position guy over the next bunch of weeks. Maxi King still in that interchange, so I'd be continuing to play him as well. Onto the Cowboys and the Titans, and Drinkwater keeps his 1 position. I wouldn't be looking to pick him up. The interesting one here is Hylam Lukey. So he maintains that 11 spot there, and he's someone we'll have a deeper dive into in a video tomorrow. But if he can continue to play 80 minutes, he's lost a fair bit of cash playing time off the bench. And I actually don't mind the Gilbert playing big minutes through the middle. They got Griffin Neem back this week who will cover a few of those minutes, and Cotter playing some big minutes there along with Tamalolo. Nanai's going to play some big minutes as well. So it's a very interesting bench this week. They only played 2 guys off the bench last week. So will Gilbert get that 57 minutes that he got last week? Will Lukey get the 80? I'm not exactly sure. It's a bit of a stress this week when he's coming up against Fafita as well. So it might be one that you could potentially wait 1 more week and go, okay, is he going to continue the big minutes? How is he going to go in back-to-back games if he doesn't score a try, for example? And then you can make a decision on that. Because, yes, if he scores okay this week, he's going to make some money, which could be a little bit annoying if you wanted to pick him up this week. But I think you can also just hold off and go, okay, let's see what happens this week. If he can do it again, then we'll pick him up next week, especially against Fafita if he has a great game. Jeremiah Nanai, I think he's definitely can be a hold this week. He comes up against Beau Fermor, who, it'll be a decent matchup there. And you'd imagine he's going to, get rid of those penalties out of his game. If he can knock that off and just have a few missed tackles, then I think that's going to be helpful for anyone's squad. If you own Tommy Gilbert and Cotter, you're holding steady with them. And Taumalolo is a very interesting potential buy this week and over the next few weeks. He's had 3 really nice games in a row, and can he continue that in this team here when they have an extra forward on the bench who has been having an impact in Griffin Neem? So that's something interesting to think about. On the Titan side of the ball, the only ones to really think about is Sexton being definitely a sell. You got Fafita as a potential option, but I think that if you're buying him now, you're buying you're chasing his points a little bit. Yes, he's done it fairly consistently in terms of overall average, but he's coming off 2 really big scores, and we saw what happened with Dylan Brown. You buy him off 280s, and he gets a 31 to 49, and people are asking me if he's a sell now. So don't be one of those people that chases those points and then 2 weeks later go, he hasn't, he's got a 40 and a 45, and I want to sell him now. Just don't be like that. It's just a tough place to be in. I've been there before, and it's just so annoying to go into that, go into the life like that and live that life. But for more, I think is a hold this week. Let's move to Tigers and the Bunnies. So On the Tiger side of the ball, we see Hastings obviously being a decent player last week. He'd played good footy without scoring really well, and last week was the week that he was 45 heading into that last shot. Will they play as good again this week? I'm not exactly sure. Will he score as well again? Again, not also. I'm very much not sure as well. So I think you can just hold off on Hastings at that weird price. Kelma Tuolangi, I wouldn't be bring him in, but he's definitely a hold and hopefully can continue to make some cash and hopefully they can pass in the ball. But that's about it. Jock Madden I spoke about as being a sell on the bench for sure. And we look to the Bunnies. I'll speak about Taff a little bit further in the next, one of the next videos, but he's someone I think there could be a potential bring in this week, especially if you are playing Gula, for example, then Taff could be that option that's fairly consistent in that mid-30s and can make you a bit of cash and can cover you over the origin period as well. Considering this is round 7 and we're getting closer to that section there. Ilias, I'm not sure if you'd play him this week, but I think you've got to keep him. He has that potential to score a 35-45 there and make you a little bit more cash still. Damien Cook, still a great option. Same with Murray, but just be aware they're going to miss a few games over origin, so we're getting closer to that section there. Jai Arrow has been good, and I think you can continue to hold him. Davin Wale is on the interchange bench this week, and hopefully he continues to play following on from this week after he missed last week there. All right, Knights and the Eels. So Ponga is one we're going to speak about a little bit further as well, but just be aware that it has been a very low scoring season for him so far. He has a couple of tough rounds coming up, especially with this one against the Eels. So will he be able to get that 100 again? I don't think so. Maybe around the 50 mark. And if you can get obviously consistent 50s from here, you're going to be really happy. But will that happen? I'm not exactly sure. And you could probably wait a little bit on him. He should be in the origin setup as well. Probably should be the fullback. If he continues his form like this, he'll be definitely playing fullback there. If you're looking at guys lower down the list, Clifford I've spoke about being a trade out. Randall's still got money to make and is scoring well, so keep playing him. You got Frizzell, who's been great. You got Brodie Jones, who's making cash. I wouldn't bring him in either, around that 400k mark, but he's someone to hold definitely. And Kurt Mann at 600k, I still think is a hold, but if you could straight swap him to an Isaiah Papali'i, for example, on the other side, then I'm not going to push you against that, especially when we have a fair bit of halves cover. When Papali'i can go edge and mid there. And Leo Thompson, I think, you can either hold or potentially trade out. I think Walters would be more of a trade out at the moment than him, and Jock Madden and players like that. Penasini moves back into the centres role, which is a little bit annoying. They see Niokora is gone with some leg tightness, and Hayes Perham gets onto that wing. So I don't think he's going to be a potential option. They could move, could be Niokora back into the centres and Penasini back to the wing next week. We're not exactly sure. Sean Russell's coming back soon, so I think Perham you can leave out of your squads at this point. Expect a big bounce back from the Eels, so Dylan Brown and Mitch Moses to have pretty good games next week as well. Isaiah Papali'i, a great option going forward, obviously, as well. All right. Panthers and the Raiders there, the 4 p.m. game on Sunday. So we got Tungo, we got Crichton, we got May, all clear holds, I think. They could come out and dominate the Raiders there with how they've been playing, for example. Crichton, if you want to move on, you can, but I think Tungo and May are definite holds. Cleary, try to get him in. He's obviously very low owned by the top 5,000. You're about 11% there, so he's, should have a great game against the Raiders there. If you're looking at their forward pack, there's not too much to think about with Isaiah Yeo just being really solid and being a hold. The big chat here is on the Raiders side of the ball with Xavier Savage here. Moving into the wing, moving on to the wing for the Raiders, we see Jordan Rapana go to 1 and Chance moves to the bench. So a very strange trade, a very strange change here for the Raiders from Sticky and puts Chance at 14. So it'll be very interesting what happens here. They've got Harry Rushton in the interchange as well. So Hudson Young's in the 18 jersey, which is very, very odd in general. But that's the way they've decided to go with it. Obviously, Horsburgh stays there. He's been pretty solid. Schneider, Whiten are still in that position. But the Jordan Rapana back to 1. Chance, if you own him, I think he's definitely going to be a trade out now, unfortunately. Savage, I wouldn't say is a buy. He's not going to be a buy until he's in the 1 position. I don't think. He's just at a bit of a strange price, just under 350 there. And a very strange sort of setup from the Raiders. And Ryan Sutton's in there at 13. And how long does he keep that position? He does score really well through the middle, but it's so hard to work out at this point. And Tom Starling in there at 9. Let's just stick with him and see what happens there. All right. So we move to the Dragons and the Roosters, the Monday night games. We did make it to the Monday night ones. This is going to be a very interesting game. I think you see a pretty strong bounce back from the Roosters here coming up into Dragons, so hopefully some tries scored for the back seven, especially for the Roosters there. If you're looking at the Dragons side of the ball, you want to continue holding Hunt, but we want a bigger game for him. We want it to happen. In terms of the forwards, not too much to talk about. Amone, if you still got him, he's really cheap now, and he's almost a hold if you still own him. But he's not going to make you any money over the next period, but it's almost not worth just straight swapping him for a cheaper guy. Teddy, what do you do with Ted? Do you just continue holding, or do you make that change? Let's see what happens with Pat, for example, if he is potentially a later out with his ankle. He did get to play the rest of the game, so looks like he should be okay. Suwali, I think you can, Suwali'i is how we actually say it. He apparently should have an apostrophe in there, speaking to the boys there about with him, but he is just a bit too expensive at that awkward price in the wing fullback, playing on the wing. I think he needs a little bit more time there for him to improve. Momorowski comes in and Kevin Agama comes out of there. So that's that. Walker, Kiri's losing so much cash, it's crazy. Crichton's ends up back in the starting 11 role and probably will play 80 again. I just personally am wanting to see a bigger game out of him before Origin, especially before I look to bring him in, because it'd be awkward to bring him in now. He averages 45 to 50 and doesn't really make you any cash. Scores okay, and then you lose him for Origin. So that's my thoughts on the Crichton situation, and then we'll finish off with the Storm and the Warriors there. So perhaps been named. They don't really have any cover in the 17, but they've obviously got a couple of guys that could fill that role or come in and change things if they need to. Nick Meaney can go to one, and they could bring in a winger, for example. I'm just going off the pictures he's shown of his ankle. Obviously he did hurt it a little bit, but it wasn't too fat, for example, so he should be okay to play. But just be aware that could be a late change. But given they play on Monday night, I think that's going to be very helpful for him and the Storm there. But Munster and Hughes, I think you got to hold Hughes definitely. Grant's a great option. Josh King, I think, is also a hold. He could play some big minutes still and score a lot better than what he did. If you're looking on, and we'll talk about Smith just being, I think, a trade out at this point. He's not getting the minutes that he needs. He's going to lose cash pretty quickly if you still own him. Arthur's is definitely a hold. It could be a tough week for him, though, this week. Walshy, still not too expensive and could potentially be an option. Maybe looking in towards the Origin period. If we're going a little bit lower here with the forwards, Aiken's still definitely a hold after his slower game, and Cohen's been named. So if you own him, happy days there. And good thing for them, they see Matt Lodge come back into the 10 role. So that's pretty much it, guys, on the team list there. I hope that really helped you guys. There's a few cheeky ones in there, cheeky selections this week. And if you are new here, please subscribe, like this video, get it around to more people. I'd really appreciate that if you're enjoying the insights. But after all that, I hope you enjoyed this, and we'll catch you in the next video. See you later.